Morning to you to 7 a.m. on Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Hurricane Erin is churning up dangerous rip currents along the East Coast, prompting swimming bans in Wildwood. The storm, not making landfall, is driving 8 to 12-foot waves and strong swells, creating treacherous conditions. In Avalon, northeasterly winds close the road to Townsend's Inlet Bridge. Atlantic City faces beach erosion and minor flooding concerns. You could see the size of the waves there on the beach. That, of course, will make a lot of surfers want to go there, but those rips are very dangerous. Officials urge beachgoers to stay out of the water for safety. In Seaside Heights, officials are cracking down on after hours ocean swimming after a tragic rip current incident at Webster Avenue Beach. 6 people were rescued by jet ski, but a seventh was pronounced dead. Mayor Anthony Vaz announced stricter enforcement, with police issuing summonses or arrests for violators after 5 p.m. The move follows 52 rip current deaths nationwide this year. Authorities urge swimming only when lifeguards are on duty. Right now, though, we have partly cloudy skies this morning, highs in the mid 70s. Let's head to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a first check of the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Yeah, that fall weather is starting to dig its heels in this morning. A little bit of a cool breeze across New Jersey, especially the northern sections, with a light wind and temperatures that are holding in the upper 50s right now in Sussex County, 68 in Newark, a little bit milder down the shore over toward Toms River and LBI. With temperatures running about 5 degrees cooler than they were yesterday statewide, it's a drier, refreshing feel, but we will see a little bit more sunshine as compared to yesterday, where most of those clouds held pretty low across especially the southern half of the state. As the breezes out of the north and east blow again today, there'll be a little bit more cloud cover throughout the morning and then ultimately clearing by this afternoon. You see that wind coming in right off of the water down the shore, making for a slightly cooler feel than average. But as far as the sunshine today, we should get some back in breaks throughout the afternoon. Then tomorrow brings back the threat of some rain throughout the late morning into the early afternoon. This is our last push of some wet weather before some of the outer bands. This is what you see here. These are the outer bands of Erin that are just offshore, giving us those gusty breezes throughout the day on Thursday into Friday. Now, the storm center of Erin is still hundreds of miles off the coast, but it will throw back some showers our way with those gusty winds into Thursday and then ultimately clear out by Friday, leading to the start of a beautiful weekend. However, there will still be those big swells and rip currents, as you mentioned, as the storm takes that track, coming pretty close to the Carolinas and then takes that right turn out to sea, still packing maximum sustained winds of Category 2 strength when it's closest to New Jersey later on Thursday night into Friday. That'll bring some big waves, some beach erosion, but temperatures climb back into the 80s by Friday. So we're cooler than average the next few days. Bring some rain in the picture tomorrow, and then sunshine clears out just in time for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll detail that weekend forecast, Ken, coming up with your next weather update.
Excellent, sir. Thank you very much. It's 7:04 right now. We do certainly have a lot of traffic this morning. In fact, we have a crash on Route 46 westbound east of Route 23, Old Turnpike Road in Wayne. One lane, the right lane specifically, is closed right now. That's causing a lot of delays. We have a crash on Route 3 just reported westbound east of Ridge Road in Rutherford. All lanes are open right now. Wait until the emergency vehicles get there, though. That might change, but there's a lot of traffic. Everybody hitting their brakes going through. Again, that's Route 3 westbound east of Ridge Road in Rutherford. We have a crash and a debris spill on the Turnpike Outer Roadway southbound south of Interchange 7, Route 206 in Mansfield. All lanes are currently blocked. Debris across all the lanes. That's causing a big backup. Traffic just trying to get by on the right shoulder. And a crash on the Garden State right now, northbound, north of exit 90, Chambers Bridge Road in Brick. The right shoulder is blocked. We also have an overturned tractor trailer, Route 24 westbound, west of exit 7, which is JFK Parkway in Chatham. The right lane is closed. The Hudson River crossings right now, the Holland Tunnel, 10 minutes, Lincoln 15, and we take a look at the GWB upper and lower levels. A mess right now. And the reason is we have a crash on the GWB upper level eastbound in the vicinity, right as you get mid-bridge, actually. It's just past the toll plaza, apparently. So that's causing the mess that you see there. Remember, the trucks have to take the upper roadway, and they are stuck right now, all the trucks. So that's giving you about a 40 to 45-minute travel time into Manhattan via the GWB. Hopefully, they'll get that mess fixed soon. It is 7:06. New Jersey was just ranked third in the nation for best state to age in place. And Haddon Home Care is helping make that a reality. Serving South and Central Jersey, the company provides, I should say, personalized home care services for seniors and adults with disabilities, helping them stay independent at home while receiving the support that they need. Joining us now is Kim Wagner, CEO of Haddon Home Care, to talk about how the industry is evolving to meet the needs of our aging population. Good to have you on this morning, Kim.
Morning, Ken.
Well, this is something that 5 or 10 years ago, if you said elderly and retirement in New Jersey, people would have laughed at you because it's so
Mhm.
expensive here in retirement. There were no incentives for elderly people to retire, but now there are tax incentives, right? There's a cap on their property taxes that was just recently introduced. They're at least trying to make it more amenable to people on a fixed income to stay here, because what was happening is people were turning 65 going to the Carolinas or Florida or Texas or wherever, or getting out of Dodge. So how important is it though for New Jersey to be ranked so highly to age in place?
It's very important, and it shows the great work that all of us in the home care industry and the healthcare industry as a whole do.
And that is the key. You need to provide the services. I have two senior parents right now in that circumstance, an 87-year-old mom and 94-year-old dad. And we had to hire a home health person. It is not the least expensive thing in the world, though. So for people who have elderly parents or for people who themselves are aging, or anybody for that matter, who should think ahead, what kind of planning should you do and how early should you do planning for retirement and elder care?
They say that the best age to start planning for that is around age 50, whether you want to look into long term care insurance or utilize your investments and put that money aside for retirement and the home care or assisted living piece in the future.
Yeah, because we never know. You're not right. You never know will you need somebody who just needs to, you just have to have them run a few errands for you, or do you need, will you have an issue with dementia or whatever? And we just don't know that. So you should always plan accordingly, right? Just in case. How has the demand for home care services changed in South and Central Jersey? Because when I was a kid, you either lived with family or you went into a quote unquote home. But that's changed a lot, right? Talk about how that's evolved.
Especially after COVID, people want to age in place. They want to stay in their homes and live with dignity and independence. So it has completely shifted in the past few years to have people utilize home care services. The demand is definitely out there. There are a lot of home care agencies. So people just need to do their research and find the right fit for them.
Amen. Because it's not quite a reward that you work your whole life to be dumped into a warehouse and forgotten about. And it's just so nice that this is now becoming part of our society and a norm, that gone will be hopefully the days where you just dump granny and grandpa into the home, and once a year at the holidays we'll bring a little thing of flowers to grandma. That's gone. Those days are gone. So talk about the types of care that Haddon Home Care provides.
We provide hourly and live in care. Our hourly services start from as little as 1 hour a day up to 24 hours a day based on the client needs. Live in care options are where a certified home health aide would live in the home with your loved one, and they're there 24 hours a day to provide support and safety supervision. That is getting to be more popular nowadays in lieu of moving someone to a nursing home or assisted living. It's more
That's what
cost
we have.
effective as
Yep.
well, typically.
100%. Yeah, I'm sorry to step on you. That's exactly what we have in my family. A person who's actually taking care of both of my parents right now, and
Mhm.
it's they are part of the family. This the woman
Mhm.
who's there. I'll give her a shout out, Irma. She is a lovely, lovely part of our family and has been now just for a few months. But she calls my dad her baby, and it's the sweetest relationship. She takes such care of my family. God bless her. Now, your Alzheimer's and dementia care programs are a little bit unique. So discuss why and how they're a little unique.
We partner with two dementia specialists to have tailored, individualized trainings for our caregivers, our certified home health aides, and our companions. And we also base it on our clients. Each client is a little bit different. Each person living with dementia presents differently. So this way we can tailor our approach to that individual and train the caregivers on those specific behaviors, so to speak.
And you have your care navigation and case management program helps families plan and manage care. How? How does that work out?
That is a brand new endeavor that we are launching. So a social worker would be assigned to each family to navigate the entire system, whether we're helping with physical therapy and occupational therapy, we're coordinating with hospice schedules, doctor's visits, we're keeping the families informed who might live across the country. We can help with the financial piece, helping pay bills, helping organize lawn service and snow removal. Kind of you name it, we can do it along with the resources that are out there for our seniors.
And what about families that maybe aren't ready to commit to somebody full time yet? Someone who needs a little guidance or a little support. Should they just give you guys a call? You'll figure it out, help them out?
Absolutely. We can give people the resources that they need, whether it's us being able to help them or we can refer them to maybe some community resources or state programs as well. We're kind of a jack of all trades with that. We know a little bit of everything to help the family. So if they call us, we can guide them through the process.
Because when a child, an adult child, starts to see those challenges, the stress level becomes your whole life changes, right? Suddenly you're the caretaker until you can get somebody to help you out, and that way you can continue working. If you have your own kids and raise your own family, it's not an easy task. So you really need that help. If a friend or family member asked you how best to help a loved one who wants to remain at home, what would you tell them? What's the first step?
First step would be to call me and then discuss the options.
And what's a website for more info so they can get the number and learn a little bit more, Kim?
Our website is haddonhomecare.com.
All right, Haddon Home Care. It's Haddon, haddonhomecare.com. It is a reality that, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you just don't think about. But if you have parents, especially if the parents are divorced, and now you got two different people to deal with separately, at least if they're together, they kind of watch each other into old age for a while until they can't. But it is a challenge. And I would suggest to anybody, I'd say the minute you move out of the house, 18 to 21, if you're moving out of the house, start at least put the thought in the back of your head. Someday I'm going to have to take care of mom and dad. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And at least give it thought so that when you get to a point in your life where you could start setting aside money, and there are money plans you could set aside, insurance plans, start doing it because everybody's going to need it. Kim Wagner, CEO of Haddon Home Care. I'm so glad you came on this morning. This is so pertinent. Come back again, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ken.
You bet. Have a good day, Kim. It is 66 degrees right now, 7:14. Same temperature this time yesterday, by the way. And when we come back, summer is time for fun at the shore. We still have a few weeks left, but time in the water can lead to tragedy. We're going to talk with the founder of the Never Off Duty Foundation. Partly cloudy this morning, highs mid-70s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will return with your full Garden State forecast, and we'll take calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings for your Tuesday. I'm Ken Rosato, 7:15, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Partly cloudy this morning, highs mid-70s today, nice and comfy. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Ken, good morning to you. A comfortable feel again with cooler weather today. So not terribly hot, especially as highs climb into the mid 70s, and we get a decent amount of sun with some breaks in the clouds down the shore from Long Branch, Point Pleasant, and Toms River. Mid 70s the further west you head. There, west of the Parkway and Turnpike, but still not even reaching 80 today. It'll feel nice and cool. There's some light showers offshore, some of those moving on by. And as far as the smoke situation, most of these originating from Colorado there. You see those wildfires in Wyoming. Those will be working their way east in a light fashion, not anticipated to give us any poor air quality or even lower our visibility. But as far as the clear sky this morning, we'll see that throughout the day, keeping the UV index on the higher side, up at a 7 this afternoon, which is high. As far as the humidity, it is dry throughout this morning, slightly more humid down the shore into tomorrow. But then I think with that easterly breeze pulling in more of that moisture offshore, that will make for a more humid feel come Wednesday evening. So tomorrow evening, plan on some more of that summery feel that returns across New Jersey, leading into a little bit more of a humid start to the day on Thursday, but it's still quite dry. As long as that northeasterly breeze keeps our winds coming in from the Hudson Valley and Connecticut and northern New Jersey, we're feeling quite dry. It's that wind off of the water. Makes it feel quite humid. And that adds a few degrees to the heat index, especially as we get toward Wednesday and Thursday. It'll feel like the low 80s by tomorrow afternoon down the shore in Atlantic City and points south. But again, northern New Jersey feeling quite nice even through Thursday. So by that point, Friday into Saturday, all of the remnants of Erin are well offshore. We enjoy a beautiful start to the weekend. Nice and sunny this weekend. Maybe some extra clouds by Sunday. Could be a shower by the end of the day. But overall, I think Saturday looking like a gem, and it'll stay very pleasant throughout the first half of the weekend. Sunday could have some more of that wet weather, but overall, it's a cooler feel, even as all of the tracks of Erin now take it offshore. One puts it in the Carolinas, but it'll just be the outer edge. We'll be brushing the outer banks by the time we get to Thursday. But again, most of the storm and all of those agreeing on it, putting it out to sea. By this weekend, we start off on Saturday with a lot of sunshine. I think there'll still be some big waves out there, especially with the overall wave heights being quite high. And then by Sunday, could have a little bit more humidity, extra clouds, and maybe a shower later in the day. We'll talk about those wave heights and what to expect at the beaches, Ken, this week and this weekend coming up in a few minutes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. In terms of traffic right now, we do have a little unanticipated construction delay. We're going to show you the Garden State Parkway, but you'll see the brake lights as people are getting to the exit. So this is near the Garden State Parkway near Route 22. The construction delay is on 22, just west of the Garden State. So as these people get off the Garden State Parkway, you can see this is the problem. They're now brake lighting it into the exit. When you get onto 22 eastbound west of the Garden State Parkway in Union, the left lane is closed, and that's causing some backup delays onto the Garden State, which you can see live on the cam right there. We also have a crash and debris spill on the New Jersey Turnpike right now. It's the outer roadway southbound, south of interchange 7206, that is in Mansfield Township, with the left lanes blocked, plural. We have a crash on Route 3 westbound, east of Ridge Road in Rutherford. All lanes are open, but there's a lot of brake checking through there. We have a crash on Route 46 westbound by Route 23 Old Turnpike Road in Wayne. The right lane of the two lanes closed there, and an overturned tractor trailer reported. Route 24 westbound west of exit 7, which is JFK Parkway in Chatham. The right lane of just two lanes closed right now. That's causing a big slowdown. We take a look at the Hudson River crossings. The Lincoln and Holland tunnels are both reporting only 10 to 12 minutes right now, 12 minutes at the Lincoln specifically, 10 minutes at the Holland. But the upper and lower levels of the GWB, an absolute mess. This is because of an earlier problem we were having on the upper level with a crash just past the toll booths. Apparently that's been cleared up, but you can see that the residual mess is still there. So upper and lower levels still taking you 20 to 30 minutes. Looks a little longer on the lower right now because I think everybody was heading that way when they heard the crash was on the upper, but nonetheless, 20 to 30 minutes on the GWB approach to get into Manhattan. 7:20 is our time, and what is left of this summer. New Jersey's beaches have been filled with families in sunblock, and unfortunately, far too many tragic drownings. As conversation grows louder around how to make our coastlines more safe, one voice is leading the call for change. Jason Bitzer, who's the founder of Never Off Duty Foundation and a seasoned ocean safety advocate, helped champion life saving legislative reform in Hawaii. Now he's bringing that blueprint to the Jersey Shore. A very good morning to you. Nice to have you on with us.
Good morning, Ken. How you doing?
You
Yeah,
bet,
so
Jason. We're
thank
doing
you.
well.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. It's good to have you on. What inspired the Never Off Duty Foundation creation, and what was the core mission when it comes to water safety?
Well, I'm actually from Manasquan, New Jersey, and all over Monmouth
Oh,
County, but I had lived in Hawaii for the last 22 years, and there was two things that were happening simultaneously. There was a lot of kids in Hawaii that were kind of wayward kids, at-risk youth, surfers looking for job creation, looking for careers, and we wanted to take a barrier to entry out of their way and give them lifeguard certification to get them into entry-level first response jobs. The other thing that was happening, which is likened to what's going on in New Jersey, is after hours drownings when the lifeguards would go off duty. A lot of times it was young children, unsupervised and things of that nature. They would drown because there was no lifeguard services. So we advocated for longer hours. We called it sun up to sundown hours, and we went to legislation. And we got that passed. It took us about 3 years, but it turned into state law where they would have extended hours for lifeguarding, 24-hour dispatch, and just kind of professionalizing the career of lifeguarding and making it a much better and conducive place for water safety all around the island. So
there
that's
you
where it kind
go.
of stemmed.
Well, that's a very good thing, and it's so important. I think to teach young people that the ocean looks like a lot of fun. It's great. Look, during the day when there's supervision and other people around, that it can be dangerous enough. We know with rip currents and whatnot, but at least
For
there are
sure.
people around in case of an emergency. But when it's night, when you can't see, in the event you
Mhm.
need to be rescued, there's no light. There's zero light. It's a very dangerous place. I live literally on the beach in Fort Lauderdale, so I
Mhm.
lived there for years, and I lived in Florida full time for many
Mhm.
many years. I spent more than half my life on the beach in Florida,
Mhm.
and we have a rule down there. I'm sure it's the same everywhere. The rule is
Yeah.
you swim 9 to 5. You never go in the water 5 to 9. So 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. because of sharks, because of no present
Yeah.
lifeguards, etc. Stay out of the water. You want to look at it from the sand? Have at it. Do not go in the water 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. because the
It's a
temptation is
great
there,
rule of
especially
thumb.
in the summer.
Mhm.
Yeah, right. And
So
it's just have all the fun you want in the day. Just don't go crazy and go in at night.
yeah, so that's the thing that we're trying to get ahead of, and that's the reality is you'd always swim near a lifeguard. And the problem is a lot of people in New Jersey, they don't get to really enjoy the beach until after the services go away because they get off work and there's 3 hours of light left, and they go down there and they get into trouble. That was happening in Hawaii a lot too. And the reality is in summer, there's only so much of it. It's a scarcity thing in New Jersey, so people want to enjoy it when they can. They don't have the fortunate of Florida or Hawaii where they can, make the weekends in the middle of January and still get that
Right.
vitamin D and good sun exposure and just, enjoy the beach. They go and they go, and hazards happen when when they happen. So we just want to really do a couple things here. We have a gala actually on September 12th, and it's for free swim lessons for underserved and underprivileged youth that can't afford them. So we're going to be giving them also swim gear and swim lessons next year. We want to do a disadvantage and just uh, a junior guard program where people can get bussed in. So the non-coastal towns, because a lot of the coastal towns in New Jersey have great junior guard programs. They're pay-to-play programs that can be upwards of $250. Some people don't have that. And we don't really think it's fair that kids don't learn to swim because of a economic barrier. So that was one of the grants and funds that we're working on right now. And lastly, we're really going to advocate that for townships that don't have the funding for skeleton crew lifeguarding, especially in August, like we have a huge hurricane season coming up right now. They're short staffed and they can't do after hours. We want to find
Mhm.
funding so that way they can alternatively do split schedules to cover the sunrise hours. So at least there's a strike team. So that could prevent, because lifeguarding is a preventative profession. If you're reacting to every rescue, you're going to have a lot more drownings. You want to prevent drownings. So if there's no one on an ATV, if there's no one patrolling, if there's no one warning people to stay off the rocks or the riptides, that's when the drownings happen. And I think
Mhm.
if we have preventative measures and funding for that from the state level, where it's legislated that even if a town says, hey, this is our operating hours, but if you're mandating it, we should have emergency funds to help get at least an after hours crew during the Memorial Day to Labor Day months. I really think that will change and make the difference. New Jersey has way too high of a drowning per capita rate. That's just a fact. And I know these numbers, like we're into the woods on the data. So I need to get a lot of volunteers and a lot of support to make this happen, but I think we can do it.
Dan, my mother-in-law was a teacher. She just retired. She was a teacher in South Florida for years, and it was water safety was one of the things you taught in school. It was just you think, well, of course you're going to teach that in an area like South Florida. Now, in Hawaii, do they have legislation? I know you made a big impact on changing the legislation for longer
Sure.
lifeguard hours and mandatory water education. So is that now a mandatory thing so that all kids learn that in school?
It is actually. So we started it
Good.
on our own. We created this book called The Barefoot Brigade. It's a series. So we want to do lakes, rivers, and obviously the ocean because that's where our focus is. But we give this book out to elementary schools. We, myself and volunteers, professional surfers, lifeguards, water people, they go into the schools, elementary level, give them this book, teach them about riptides, teach them about marine life, teach them about, don't walk where you don't see footprints because that means the waves are washing up there. Like little things that you might not know if you grew up inland and you go to the shore only in the summertime, which actually happens in Hawaii a bit too, is that the inland island kids, they go on their holidays, they don't go every day and then they get into trouble. So we want to, raise our kids like a lifeguard would with all those skill sets. And what we did is we took that book and then we had a lot of support and they got it through legislation. And now it's mandatory to have water safety in the educational system as part of your PE, as part of your health, your programming. So that's what we want to do here in New Jersey too. So that way the Oranges, the Passaics, the Essex counties, all those areas that come to the beach in the summer too, and even like towns like Neptune, where I grew up and I was born, we have resources there that these kids, have the education they need. So when it comes to summer months, they don't get there at 5:30 when the lifeguards go off and get into trouble like we saw with that 13-year-old is right after lifeguard hours within an hour later. And it's not a atypical thing. It happens often.
Right.
So, and I know like every other lifeguard that we want to save lives. We just want the resources and the scheduling to be able to do that. The lifeguards do an amazing job in New Jersey for how crowded these beaches are and how actually dangerous they are with the surf and the riptides. They're wonderful, but to save somebody, you need to be there, and that's where I'm here is to kind of back them up and give them support so they get what they need.
Yeah, my dad was a police officer for a chunk of his life, and I remember him telling me many times we've had this conversation because he taught my brother and me to swim at like 2. He literally just
Mhm.
did the throw you in the water and stood there and help you, let you kind of flounder and learn to feel yourself up. And he made it so that water was just natural to us from when I was a
Yeah.
baby, which is why I guess I wanted to live there because that was always part of my life. But I remember him saying that it is a multi-generational thing. So if a parent doesn't
It
know how
is.
to swim, the kid doesn't know how to swim, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as you mentioned, it's just not fair. If a kid comes from poverty or never has the opportunity to be near water, and all of a sudden the class goes to the beach for the day, that could be really dangerous because you have peer pressure to go in the water with your
Yeah.
friends, but you don't know how to swim. But it's something that just a few hours at a YMCA or some
Mhm.
in a pool or with proper training, a lifeguard can teach people to at least know how to tread water. You don't have to be an
Mhm.
Olympic swimmer, but you know how to tread
Exactly.
water so that you don't get in that one wave is all it takes to pull you out.
Mhm. It's so
It
true.
is
I
just so
think
dangerous.
generationally, that's a big thing, and it doesn't have to do with poverty. Sometimes it just has to be educationally, and sometimes it's as little as teaching someone how to float. So it's little steps over time that's gonna right this ship back into port, so to say. And I think we're getting there. I think New Jersey, with sadly with all this tragedy, is on board, and hopefully we can see everybody there at the gala or support online. It's the September 12th at the Edgewater Beach Club. That's our annual event to raise money for these programs.
Fantastic. Oh, and what's the website too, so people can get more information?
Sure, it's neveroffduty.org. It's a 501c private foundation. We do have a chapter here in New Jersey. I opened it last year, and we've been getting things going. We've gotten to about 15 schools so far, and we're working with the DOE and different departments to get that book everywhere as we get towards legislation for mandatory water safety education.
That is fantastic. I'm so glad you're doing this. Seasoned ocean safety advocate, founder of the Never Off Duty Foundation, Jason Bitzer. Thank you for joining us this morning. Please come
Excellent.
back again and again, especially as we come into the warm weather seasons each year. We need to keep reminding people.
Great. Thank you.
You bet. Have a great day and good luck with the gala. 7:30 right now. When we come back, Eric, the travel guy Hastings, will join us to talk about a special place in sunny Florida, the Edison and Ford Winter Estates in Fort Myers. The phone lines are open, 888-658-0234. Partly cloudy this morning. Highs today, mid-70s. The full Garden State forecast with meteorologist Mike Favetta in just a moment. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings, back in 30.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
Seven 31. Good morning. It is 65 degrees right now on your Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Had to think about that for a second. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. In Seaside Heights, officials are cracking down on after-hours swimming after a tragic rip current incident at Webster Avenue Beach. 6 people had to be rescued by jet ski. A 7th, unfortunately, was pronounced dead. Mayor Anthony Vaz announced stricter enforcement with police issuing summonses or arrests for violators after 5 p.m. The move follows 52 rip current deaths that occurred nationwide this year. Authorities are urging swimming only when lifeguards are on duty. Right now, partly cloudy this morning. Highs today, mid 70s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the detailed Garden State forecast. And Mike, I'm glad we just had Jason Bitzer on to talk about how the ocean is a wonderful thing, and we are blessed in
Yeah.
New Jersey to have 130 miles or so of coastline. But for people who don't get the basic education, it can be a very dangerous place.
Absolutely, especially this week with those big waves churning offshore. I'll show you those waves in just a bit. I think they'll be a little bit higher than initially anticipated because of the track coming pretty close to New Jersey, with Erin staying so far offshore that the weather won't impact us too much, but those waves that'll be generated will be rather large. Some clouds today down in Atlantic City and points south, but breaks of sun just north of there, even up toward LBI. So a pretty decent day, but much cooler than we've become accustomed to. It's a little cool period with a high today that climbs to the upper 70s. We should actually make it to 85 degrees, but instead we'll enjoy the little bit of a break from the heat. Sunrise, you've been noticing, is a little bit later now, after 6 a.m. Sunset before 8 p.m. So those daylight hours quickly getting shorter. You see some of the showers working through Cape May right now, some clouds off to the north. We're sandwiched in between with some sunshine throughout the rest of the day, and water temperatures still holding in the mid 70s. They'll start to cool off from this point forward, especially with the worst of the heat behind us for this summer. Notice the high risk of rip currents now extending out to Long Island and all the way down to Cape May. So it's going to be one to watch with the storm that is still a major Category 3. Giving large swells and a lot of big winds there toward areas in the Caribbean. As the storm starts to transition to extratropical, the wind field expands. So you'll see that here coming up with the futurecast, giving us a pretty breezy day by the end of the day today, and especially into tomorrow, with the outer bands beginning to affect New Jersey. Not so much Wednesday, that's just an ordinary rain system, but by Thursday, we could see those outer bands move in. That's what you see offshore by Thursday afternoon, and pretty gusty winds as well from the north and east, all due to Erin as it passes by. So here we go. On the big map, we have throughout the day on Wednesday into Thursday, there's our rain coming in from the west, a little bit of light shower activity, and there's Erin making a pretty close pass. The waves will be rather large. The rains, probably get those throughout the day on Thursday. All of New Jersey will likely have clouds as a result. And then as the high pressure steers it away, you see the system pass way far to the east by Friday, and then we'll be enjoying the sunshine and the milder weather by the end of this week. That'll lead to a beautiful start to the weekend throughout Friday and Saturday. Temperatures climb into the mid 80s. I think Saturday is the better beach day if you plan to head toward the water. There'll still be some large waves, so I don't think the beaches will be totally clear and you'll be able to go in the water. But by Sunday, I think with a little bit of rain chances coming in, we'll have some wet weather by the end of the weekend. For the shore points, have a little bit of that clearing takes over. Again, Thursday we'll have rain. That's due to Erin, with those outer bands working in, and very windy as well. Obviously, the waves on the oceans will be very high. And then by Friday and Saturday, temperatures climb into the low 80s and stay there into Sunday. So a bit of a sunny start to the weekend, and then a little bit of a cloudy finish, Ken.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. 7:35 is our time. We have 67 degrees now. The temperature just peaking up a little tiny bit. We take a look at our traffic. We have a mess on the Garden State Parkway, northbound south of exit 137. You see the traffic coming towards you right now. That's because of a crash that they're all driving into, and that is by Cranford Township, Route 28. The center lane is blocked. So as those cars continue just beyond the camera shot, that's when they're going to encounter that center lane being blocked in Cranford. We have an unanticipated construction delay, Route 22 eastbound west of the Garden State Parkway, Union Township. The left lane is closed right now. And on the New Jersey Turnpike, right now we have a crash and debris spill. It's on the outer roadway southbound, south of Interchange 7. The traffic cam that we have right now is not really showing much. It's literally half a mile beyond this point. So it's not causing any kind of a major backup, but just so that you're aware, this is again a crash and debris spill, New Jersey Turnpike outer roadway southbound, south of Interchange 7 in Mansfield with the left lanes blocked. We have a crash on Route 46 westbound east of Old Turnpike Road in Wayne Township. The right lane is closed, and an overturned tractor trailer reported Route 24. That is westbound west of exit 7. JFK Parkway in Chatham with the right lane of the two lanes closed. Hudson River crossings right now, Lincoln and Holland tunnels both moving at 10 minutes. The upper and lower levels of the GWB have been pretty heavy. We take a look right now. You see the upper level on the right, a little heavier than the lower because there was an earlier crash right by the toll booths. So that's taking you about 25 to 30 minutes to get into Manhattan on the upper. It's only 15 minutes or so on the lower. And that is your time delay getting into Manhattan. 7:37 is our time on your Tuesday morning. And when you think of a Florida escape, or as a lot of folks here like to call it, Florida, you probably just think of great beaches or maybe a cruise or a fishing escape or maybe a murder mystery dinner theater. But Florida is loaded with historical sites. Remember, the oldest continuously lived in city in the United States is located in Florida, St. Augustine. It has a unique ecosystem in that state that is rivaled by few other places on earth. And you could find loads of museums and historic places there, among them the Edison and Ford Winter Estates in beautiful Fort Myers on Florida's west coast. Joining us now to talk about it is Eric the Travel Guy Hastings. You can always check out his website at ericthetravelguy.com. That's Eric with a K. Plus, you could watch his awesome travel series, Beyond Our Backyard, which I used to watch on PBS for years. Now I just pull it up on YouTube. Eric, good morning to you.
We try to keep it simple. We keep it easy for you, Ken. Just turn it on YouTube. That's exactly right. Good morning.
Or I like to call it the YouTube. Hey, put it on the YouTube. Yeah, let's see what's on the
Sometimes I
YouTube.
watch the YouTube down in Florida, right? That's what we're
Florida,
doing.
it's a good thing there. You know, they got everything. Everything is 5 minutes from Miami. When I first moved to Florida, everybody that I knew, like when I was living in Hollywood, they're like, "That's right by Miami." Yeah, it's about an hour with traffic. It's right by Miami. Yeah, everything is right by me. Jacksonville, right by Miami. Even though it's as far
Right,
from Miami as Buffalo is from New York, but it's right there. The whole state is
right
Miami.
there.
Anyway, tell us, look at the beautiful Ford, the Edison and Ford Winter Estates. So I'm guessing it's named after Thomas Edison and not Gerald Ford. But
Gerald Ford.
the wrong Ford. You see people falling out the front door if it's Gerald Ford.
You know, again, Ken, you and I have had this discussion many times before. This happens a lot to me, where somebody says, "This happened a few days ago. I was just down there over the past weekend." Said, "Oh, let's go to the Ford place." I was like, "The what place?" I had no idea it existed. Now, and again, you show up to this, well, which is now an open museum, open to the
Right.
public. You can actually, you can actually go and see Edison's lab, one of his labs that he worked in, and his entire crew. And it's preserved, it's there. You can walk the grounds, you can see how these two, had fun together, talked together. And again, this is just one of these examples. You may not know this, Ken, but I started doing travel. It seemed like 100 years ago, but a long time ago. And one of the first places we went, I'm not going to tell you where it is just yet, okay? Because we show up at this museum and we're walking through it, and it was, it was wonderful. And we come around the corner, and my guide says, and here is Abraham Lincoln's chair that he was assassinated in at Ford's Theater. And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And she said, "Yeah, this is the chair. It's right here. We keep it preserved." and I was totally blown away by the fact that we as a country kept that chair. And that chair resides at the Henry Ford Museum outside of Detroit. And that really left a mark on me that day, because I remember thinking, wow, there's only one of those chairs in the whole world, and if you want to see it, you have to come to this museum to see it. Now, I notice some people they're like, yeah, duh, but yet we forget that there are these, you really can walk in the footprints of icons, and it's not that difficult to do if you put a little work into it. And so there at the Henry Ford, for instance, that's where I also saw Rosa Parks' bus. So they brought her bus, preserved it, and now you can go on that bus and sit down with a docent and hear the story that was told, and talk about that piece of history, and it's right there. Same thing with the JFK assassination vehicle. The very vehicle that he was assassinated in is kept there at the Henry Ford. So there's millions of examples of things like that, and that's what happened to me in Fort Myers. We showed up and toured the grounds and looked through this estate, and it was simply amazing.
No, and the Fort Myers area is great. You're only half an hour away from Marco Island and Naples, and the city itself of Fort Myers is fantastic. It has everything to offer. A lot of people I know who don't want to, a lot of people in the years past, everybody from New York wanted to retire on the East Coast rather. Everyone wanted
Right.
Miami to Fort Lauderdale, but the congestion and the pricing and everything else, it's just too much. If you want to retire, okay, and I mean just a nice, sedate, easy lifestyle, the West Coast of Florida is perfect. If you kind of want some of the hustle and bustle and the big city feel, stay on the East Coast, or where you're in the Orlando area. Orlando is
Right.
a big city with literally everything. If you want 20,000 restaurants, nightlife, murder mystery
Right.
dinner theater, it's all in Orlando. I'm trying to get as many in as possible.
You're the
That's like
best.
14 boxes checked.
You're the
um
best. I'm
so,
going to get a bill for this. I know I am.
not yet, not yet. Down the line. But no, but it's the West Coast is fabulous. And just to clarify, because I had to look this up, it's called the Edison and Ford Winter Estates because they were best friend or close friends. They were two there, because I'm thinking, did they live together? Is there something we don't know about? It's two different estates side by side. They were friends from New Jersey, and so they decided to have homes like or winter getaway homes in Fort Myers side by side. So it's a whole complex, right?
Yeah. And again, this is one of those experiences where, again, it's summertime, it's Florida. I'm like, how much time are we going to spend outside? I have a lot of questions before I show up to some of these things. And yet my friend was like, listen, you're going to be fine. And you know what? They were right. We walked around. I would say we spent maybe an hour walking in and out around the estate. And then we spent another half an hour inside in air conditioning in the museum, which is also spectacular. And
Mhm.
so, again, it was the perfect size. It was the perfect post lunch. I think we went right before lunch and just had it. I mean, but again, I use that as an example because even the seasoned travel professional that I am supposed to be, uh, even me, I'm still surprised at how easy it was, how well done that museum was. And so I would encourage people, you and I, Ken, we don't need an excuse to take vacation. We work hard enough and then we're like, yeah, we're going somewhere for no reason. You and I will go across town for pasta. Like, we don't care. But
Totally.
sometimes people need a little. So I say, what is it you're interested in? Because if you love Ernest Hemingway, well, why not go to the Hemingway house in Key West? Or, maybe you're an author person who they've documented where these authors used to hang out. You can go and walk and feel that presence, even if it's hundreds of years apart. I would encourage people to do that. Absolutely.
And Florida is just a fabulous place. There's so much to offer in Florida. It's not just beaches. And by the way, watch this. When you're in Florida, you can rent a car and take a ride from Fort Myers to Orlando. It's an easy 3 hours to catch the Speakeasy Murder Mystery Dinner Show and enjoy a great evening of food, fun, and crime solving. How are things going with the show, by the way?
Well, speaking of the show is going great. I could quite frankly, I was out a little late last night. We were working on some stuff, so I slept in a little bit this morning. But the show is going great. We're just getting ready. Speaking of Florida, we're just getting ready to announce that it's not ready yet. A 5-day, 4-night interactive murder mystery cruise that we're going to host. That's going to happen next year, all in our Speakeasy Universe 1924 universe. So we're going to do that next year. We're not quite ready to announce that. So the show is going great. We're having a blast. As a matter of fact, somebody last night came up to me, and I think it's one of the reasons we do the show. It's fun to be, do a show. Who doesn't love that? But I do. But he said, Eric, and he literally stopped me. He said, "Are you Eric?" I said, "Yes, I'm Eric." And he said, "I watch Ken on New Jersey." And I said, "Of course you do." And he said, no, he didn't say that. But he said, "I really love the fact that I felt like I was transformed into the 1920s era. Like I stepped in here and you really just whisked me away." And he was dead serious. This guy was like probably 60 years old, kind of a gruff guy. And he was like, I just loved it. So we love hearing things like that. Show's going very well. SpeakeasyMurder.com before you ask.
And I can't wait. Listen, when you do the cruise with it, seriously, you should broadcast from the cruise. We'll put you on. We'll do interviews from the high seas with you. Now that you can do that remotely, so
I love that. Yes, we can. Absolutely. And you should go. Come on. You need to bring the whole show. We got to have
you know that
Pam
my
come.
my
We got
husband
Eric
won't
come.
my husband won't let me take a cruise. I'll
Give me
tell
his
you
phone.
about that off air. I
Give me
have
his phone
never been
number.
allowed to. Okay, I've never been allowed to take a cruise because he had a bad experience when he was a kid. So here I'm 58 years old. I've never taken a cruise. Pam, our director, says she'll be there. So
Okay.
all right, Eric,
Chris,
I
no,
love you like a
we
brother
have
from another mother. You're awesome. Eric the Travel Guy Hastings. Check out the website, ericthetravelguy.com. That's Eric with a K. Thanks as always, my brother, for coming on this morning.
Thank you, my friend. See you.
You bet. Take care. It is 65 degrees now, 7:47. When we come back, New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein will have the latest on New Jersey's political scene with the Inside Edge. We're coming right back. And welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 747, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Partly cloudy this morning. Highs today, mid-70s. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Why don't we do the cruise for the show from the cruise, right? You and
We
me
could
could
do
go
that.
on there. Yeah,
No
yeah.
objection
Stephanie,
here.
Stephanie's not a big cruise person either. Gets a little motion sickness.
So
So
Stephanie and
we'll
Chris could hang out together,
see
and
that, right?
Chris will watch Antonino. It'll be all good. We'll just be on a
Hmm.
cruise, our ninth mimosa. It'll be good.
A
It'll
little
make
bit of
for
a
interesting
Starlink
TV.
cleanup, and we're good to go. It would make for some great, great morning television. Yes. Hey, well, we've got some great skies across New Jersey. The sun has returned, and it looks very pretty this morning. Feels pleasant, not too humid, but not too chilly, just right as we enjoy the 70s this afternoon across northern New Jersey. Lots of sunshine here. You'll find more clouds the further south you head. So if you say, oh, I want to get to the beach before the waves get really bad and they won't allow me to go in the water, well, there might be some extra clouds toward the beaches throughout the day today. So it has been rather dry the last month or so, and most of the northern part of the state, even western sections shown in yellow, are abnormally dry. It's not technically a drought, but we have seen a rainfall deficit over the last 30 days, about 25% of average there toward Morristown. That translates to about 2 to 4 inches below average over the last 30 days from Long Branch up through Hackensack and Sussex, southern New Jersey. Tapped into a little bit more of that wet weather. Well, we won't get it from any tropical moisture because as Erin spins out and up away from us, we'll just get the ocean wave action from there. Fernand may be the next named storm, and that's right now exiting the western coast of Africa as it forms over the next few days. So you can see right there in the center, more than 40-foot waves in the center of the storm. This is north of the Bahamas, but even as the storm center passes offshore, look at the shades of red and yellow, translating to 10 to 15-foot waves offshore. There will be some big waves crashing by Thursday morning on the coast and making for some big swells. Obviously, beach erosion a concern, and then we'll see an improvement next week as all of that wave energy moves out to sea. So it's one to watch, especially if you have beach plans going down the shore this Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. Slightly cooler than average weather expected through the end of the month, so it gives the air conditioner a break, some good news, and then maybe a little bit more wet weather likely through the end of the month as well as we head into the first week of September. But as far as the 7-day forecast is concerned, we start off a little wet with some rain tomorrow. This is not due to Erin. However, Thursday down the shore, I'll show you what the shore points forecast shows some rain on the way for Thursday. Likely just clouds for most of the state as we head into the end of the day. As Erin pulls away, it leaves in its wake some pretty big swells. So while the beaches may look pretty, you probably still won't be able to go into the water on Friday. That is with a high of 84. Saturday is a nicer half of the weekend, and then rain moves in by the end of the weekend for Sunday. So for the shore points, there's the rain that comes in. These are the outer bands of Erin, likely giving some wet weather at times on Thursday, and then clearing for Friday, Saturday, and a pretty decent day going into Sunday and Monday. No big heat expected over the next 2 weeks, just average warmth. And we like average after such a hot summer, Ken. A nice way to wrap up unofficial summer and begin fall on a pleasant note.
Well, considering especially that we're so above average, that when we like to
Yes.
talk
Right.
down and talk
Yeah.
average. I just choked a
Too
little
much
bit.
winning.
Thank you
Too
very
much
much.
winning.
Thank you.
Getting
That's
tired
right.
of the winning.
Thank you for doing that for me. All right, Mike, it is 66 degrees. You are the best, my friend. 751. Here's something that isn't the best, though. You're not going to like this. We have two problems a mile apart causing this on the Garden State Parkway. Yuck. So this is now, we're looking at the Garden State Parkway right there. That's by exit 136. But listen to what we have. A disabled vehicle on the Garden State northbound exiting at 135 with that's Central Avenue in Clark. Partial ramp blocked there. And just about a mile and a half away, all in that same strip, crash on the Garden State northbound exiting at 137, Route 28 in Cranford with the right shoulder blocked. That is the result right there. So from Clark to Cranford on the Garden State Parkway, just avoid it. Look at the mess. And you're starting to see a little slowdown volume in the opposite direction right now as people rubberneck a little bit on the southbound side. So just be aware of that. Have a crash on the Jersey Turnpike Outer Roadway southbound north of Interchange 7, Route 206 in Bordentown with the left lane blocked and an unanticipated construction delay. Route 22 eastbound west of the GSP Union Township with the left lane closed. We have a crash and debris spill on the New Jersey Turnpike Interchange 7 in Mansfield with left lanes plural blocked. And an overturned tractor trailer Route 24 westbound west of exit 7, which is JFK Parkway in Chatham with the right lane blocked right now. The Hudson River approaches Lincoln and Holland, both 10 to 15 minutes. The upper and lower levels of the GWB have been giving us some issues today. You can see the upper level on the right is a little slower than the lower. We're told it's about 25 minutes in now, and it's 20 minutes on the lower level. 7:53, time for politics from Trenton explained like no one else can do it. Here's New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein with the Inside Edge.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Inside Edge. It is Tuesday, August 19th, and the drama of New Jersey's 1972 congressional redistricting started 2 years earlier with a backroom bargain that could only happen in Jersey. Governor Bill Cahill needed to clear the field for Republican State Chairman Nelson Gross to take on U.S. Senator Harrison Williams. Gross was President Nixon's man. He was the Bergen boy wonder, but standing in his way was Joe Mariziti, a crafty Morris County state senator with his own ambitions. So Cahill made a deal. He went to Mariziti and said, drop out of the Senate race and you can chair congressional redistricting. Gross lost big, and Mariziti got to draw his own district. And this new 13th district was Joe Mariziti's trophy. It was a Republican fortress. It started in East Hanover, went across Morris County into Sussex, Warren, Hunterdon, and even down into some towns that in those days were red in Mercer County. The map cut Hudson County from 2 House seats to 1. Dominic Daniels and Neil Gallagher, both powerhouses, were shoved into a cage match Democratic primary. Even Essex County got joggled. Newark was sealed entirely into Peter Rodino's 10th district, and Joe Minish's 11th was was drawn to be more competitive. Republicans had lined up Milton Walder, a former state senator from South Orange, to run for Congress. By the way, that didn't work, and not every Republican was happy. Assembly Speaker Tom Kean and Senator Jim Walworth both had their eyes on Washington, and they saw their futures boxed out by a new gerrymandered map. Now get this: they connected Livingston and Milburn to Princeton. Kean and Walworth grumbled. The courts just sort of shrugged, and aside from fixing some problems in South Hackensack, the map stood intact. Mariziti crushed two Republican assemblymen in a primary. The Democrats were a mess. Joseph O'Doherty eked out a primary win over two others, and then very quickly the hammer fell on him. So yeah, this is sort of unbelievable. O'Doherty had not become a U.S. citizen until 1967. The Constitution says you have to be a citizen for 7 years to serve in Congress, not 5. So O'Doherty was out. And you know what happened? The Ireland-born candidate called it an oversight. He said he'd lived in the U.S. for 12 years and just forgot when he was naturalized. So party bosses had a scramble. They drafted Helen Minor, the former First Lady of New Jersey, cousin of Adlai Stevenson, into running for Congress. Mariziti beat Minor by more than 25,000 votes, 56-43. In that same Dream District, Nixon crushed George McGovern by a 70-30 margin. But Mariziti, he wasn't going to last long, and there's more on him another time. That's it for everybody today, everybody. Thanks for listening. Be back tomorrow.
All right, David, thank you very much, sir. 757, 127 more people were arrested in Washington, D.C. over the weekend for a total of over 400 arrests since President Trump's crackdown on crime there began. Also, 21 more illegal guns were seized. D.C.'s new U.S. Attorney, Janine Pirro, ran down these successes.
Everyone, is Judge Janine filling you in on what's going on in the surge in Washington, D.C. We're at more than 400 arrests over the weekend, 127 this past weekend with our federal partners and this cooperative law enforcement effort. We seized 21 illegal guns. We've made arrests on warrants for homicide, sexual predators, drug trafficking, illegals. If you want to be in D.C. and you're a criminal, you're not welcome.
Well, the feds have also cleared several homeless encampments that were in the area. In fact, 3 of them on Saturday, where officials say drug use was rampant. In all, robberies down 46%, carjackings down 83%, and violent crime down 22% in just a week and a half. It can be done. 7:58, President Trump met with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday. The Ukrainian leader braced for the possibility of another series of meetings that could change the course of his country's future 6 months after a volatile Oval Office meeting and just days after Trump met with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Zelensky was greeted warmly upon his return to the White House, where Trump promised a reasonable chance of ending Russia's war with a commitment to U.S. involvement in a peacekeeping force in Ukraine as a shield against further aggression. Meanwhile, a band of top European leaders descended on the White House for meetings with Trump before Zelensky's arrival to thank President Trump for all his efforts to bring peace to the region and to compliment him for all his efforts, saying more has been done by this administration in a few weeks than in the last 4 years.
Steps ahead are the more complicated ones now. The path is open. You opened it last Friday. But now the way is open for complicated negotiations.
And no surprise that mainstream media had little to nothing to say about the European leaders' praise of Trump's accomplishments. 7:59 right now, 66 degrees. When we come back, there's a new restaurant in Nutley that'll make your head spin. We're going to speak with the executive chef of Baccarosa. Plus, we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Partly cloudy this morning, a little sun today, highs mid-70s, the full Garden State forecast in a minute. You're watching ONNJ Mornings, back in 30. Very good morning to you. It is 8 a.m. on Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. Hurricane Erin is churning up some dangerous rip currents along the East Coast, prompting swimming bans in Wildwood. The storm not making landfall, still, though, driving 8 to 12-foot waves, maybe even higher in some places, and strong swells creating treacherous conditions. In Avalon, northeasterly winds close the road to Townsend's Inlet Beach. Atlantic City faces beach erosion and minor flooding concerns, and officials are urging beachgoers to stay out of the water for safety. For now, though, we'll have partly cloudy skies this morning, basically the whole day. Highs today, the mid 70s. We had the meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the Garden State forecast. And this is serious in terms of walking into that ocean. It may
Yeah.
look tempting, but when you got those waves and those rip currents, it can be really dangerous.
Absolutely, yeah. It could swipe you off your feet. Usually, when the waves are this rough, the lifeguards don't let you go in more than your ankles because that's how powerful they will be come Thursday into Friday and even starting off the weekend, those waves along the ocean. Our forecast, though, points to a pretty decent start to the day. I would say with the sunshine out and about across northern New Jersey, some clouds right now across the southern part of the state. It's nice to start off with a little bit of clearing and temperatures that are just about where they were yesterday, maybe slightly cooler over toward northwestern corner of New Jersey. With the dew points or the temperature where they are saturated nice and low, it is dry and it feels quite comfortable with a little bit of wet weather down across the coast. I think we start off our day a little breezy thanks to those winds out of the east, keeping the coastal neighborhoods a little cloudier to start today, whereas northern New Jersey is nice and sunny, and then everybody taps into some clouds for tomorrow with some wet weather on the way for late tomorrow morning into the afternoon. You can see that with the future cast as clouds take over throughout the course of this afternoon. Tomorrow, wet weather drives in. This is some light rain, no thunderstorms expected, just a little bit of wet weather to finish out our Wednesday. And then Thursday, you can already see the outer bands of Erin offshore. We will be primarily affected by the cloud cover and the gusty winds throughout the day on Thursday, as those gusty winds blow, keeping temperatures in the 50s in northern New Jersey, the 60s down the shore. It all clears out by Friday, and we'll look forward to a nice dry and clear finish to the work week and a beautiful start to the weekend as highs climb back into the 80s come Saturday and Sunday. So there's the storm right now, a Cat 2, borderline Cat 3, but as it works its way out to the north and east, it'll regain a little bit of momentum, transition to extratropical, the wind field expands, and even though the storm center hundreds of miles away from the coast of New Jersey, there's still some cloud cover and some outer rain bands that we'll get by Thursday afternoon, especially at the coast. For the rest of us, just the clouds clearing for some sunshine on Friday and highs climb into the low 80s. We'll detail the weekend forecast, Ken, coming up with your next weather update in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. 8:03 is our time, 66 degrees our temperature, northern New Jersey, 63 in Trenton. And right now we have a mess to look at the Garden State Parkway. Let's take a peek. This is all due to a disabled vehicle on the GSP northbound exiting 135 Central Avenue in Clark. There's a partial ramp blockage there, and that's causing this for about a mile and a half. So if you're heading now on the Garden State Parkway northbound, into the Clark area, that's what you're going to encounter, unfortunately. We have a crash on the Jersey Turnpike Outer Roadway southbound north of Interchange 7, Route 206 in Bordentown. The right shoulder is blocked, and unanticipated construction on Route 22 eastbound west of the Garden State in Union. One left lane of the two lanes closed. Crash and a debris spill on the Turnpike Outer Roadway southbound south of Interchange 7, 206 in Mansfield with the left lanes blocked. An overturned tractor trailer to report Route 24 westbound west of Exit 7, JFK Parkway in Chatham with the right lane closed. The Hudson River crossings right now, Lincoln and Holland both reporting just 10 to 15. The GWB upper and lower levels, we take a look, now wide open. We had an earlier crash at the toll plaza for the upper level. That's been cleared, and you can see things are wide open now with a 10-minute crossover time. 8:04 is the time, and a fresh Italian-inspired dining experience just opened in Nutley. Nutley, remember, that's Martha Stewart's former home. Baccarosa brings modern flavors and a playful twist to classic Italian cuisine. from wood-fired pizzas to homemade seasonal pastas and bold, shareable dishes. Joining us now is Executive Chef Andrew Riccatelli to talk about the new restaurant, the menu, and some fun promotions. I used to live right down the street from where you are, so I know that area like the back of my hand, and I know the food scene on Franklin Ave there in Nutley, and that's a great little eating town. People don't even realize what a diamond it is. Congratulations on your opening, Chef. What inspired the concept of Baccarosa?
I honestly think we really wanted to do something fun, seasonal, Italian. I think it fits the area really well. It fits mine and the director of operations background culinarily. And we were just really excited to put something like this together over here.
You know, Chef, I know a lot of the restaurateurs, past and present in Nutley. One of the challenges that they've all had, a lot of them come in with these fabulous open-minded, if you will, dishes. They try to push the gamut a little bit, and then you get the locals who come in, and this is no disrespect, the older people, whatever. They come in because they got the money, but they come in and say, "Where's the chicken parm? You don't have chicken parm?" I don't mean to be rude. I'm Italian. You're Italian, I'm guessing, right? With the name Riccatelli. That must be very frustrating because you are a trained chef. You're trying to expand their horizon, say, listen, try this. This is really good. You'll love it. But they're like, I just want a bowl of spaghetti and chicken parm. Does that must grate on your nerves like acid in a cut?
A little bit, and it does for sure. But I think that we're at a spot where we can offer something that's like a happy medium for everyone involved. We don't have chicken parm on the menu, unfortunately, but we do have a lot of other stuff that kind of speaks to old world Italian stuff that I grew up eating and that everyone in New Jersey really loves. But just a little bit of a modern twist, a modern take, a take for me on food, a little bit different, a little bit more, a little bit more modern. It's just a little bit different for us.
Right, because you go to Italy, there is no such thing as chicken parm. Does not exist. Anyone in anyone from North Jersey who considers themselves Italian, if you go to Italy, they will call you an American, not an Italian, by the way. I spent a lot of time, Mike Favetta. I mean, just quick aside, the origins, because I have a whole food website, the Food Dude it's called. And the whole origins, when Italians came to America, they couldn't get eggplant in the beginning. They used to make melanzane parmigiana. That was what they made. And so they couldn't get eggplant, but chicken was cheap and plentiful. So they just said, and that's how chicken parm came about. You would never put cheese on chicken in Italy. It would be like, what? What are you doing? But I love it.
Let's buy an eggplant shortage then.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So, but I love the fact that you're doing the wood-fired pizzas to order. Yep. Talk about some of the different pizzas. And you're doing real Neapolitan dough here, right? The aged dough, several days, that kind of a deal?
Yeah, so it's not Neapolitan. It's not really New York style. It's kind of, we've been through 30, 40 batches of dough just to get our dough. And the way we kind of refer to it is Baccarosa pizza. It's not Neapolitan. It's not that soft crust. It's not New York where it's flat. We have nice fluffy crust, but definitely, passes the flop test. Very crispy dough. We have margarita. We have a carne picante. We have a seasonal corn and clam pizza. We have a truffle cacio e pepe pizza. Jersey tomato pizza with all these heirloom tomatoes that we have in New Jersey right now. They're absolutely beautiful. Roasted garlic. And then that wood oven that we have, everything in and out of there. We bake pastas in there. We bake our whole chicken in there. It's so versatile. There's so much stuff that we can use it for, and we do. We get such a nice crisp and a nice char and that nice flavor from that brick oven.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, in fact, I'm just thinking back as you're talking about the oven. I have 4 different friends who are restaurateurs, current or past, in the area. And I remember one ordering their oven from Napoli and how they had to take it apart to get it into the restaurant. But that was the epicenter of the restaurant because first of all, it ain't cheap. But secondly, because you can cook everything in there and it just imparts such a unique flavor in all the food. So talk about some of the seasonal pastas you have in mind. By the way, you already had me. My mind is just wandering in fantasy about the corn and clam pizza. That's already ingrained right here. I'm coming in for that.
Great one.
But that sounds sick good. Talk about some of the seasonal pastas you want to do.
So some of the seasonal stuff we have to continue the corn, Jersey corn, super sweet right now. So we have a corn agnolotti, with whipped ricotta, corn, andouille, so it's a little bit spicy. The spreadable Calabrian sausage. We have a lobster pasta that's like a lobster fra diavolo with house-made chitarra, which is like a spaghetti. We have a rosette pasta, which I actually have right here.
Oh,
So
nice.
this has braised lamb neck and fontina cheese, pecorino crema, and then the lamb jus that we use, reduce, and we cover that, and we bake this in that brick oven again. We have a gnocchi with pistachio and basil pesto. Everything's in-house, made from scratch every day. So we're getting our hands dirty with all of this stuff. We're getting in the dough, and we really want to give off that handmade vibe and feel to all the stuff that we make here.
Listen, when you're set, we'd love to do something with you. I'd love to come. And my family owned pizzerias and restaurants for years. I was trained in the kitchen. That's where I used to work. If you ever want to do a charity, a fundraiser together or something, I would be happy to come, and we'll do something together and have a lot of fun. If you would even allow me to enter your kitchen,
I
I
absolutely
would be
would, and
honored.
we'd love to have you.
Awesome. I got some skills. You'll see. I got some skills. I'm only missing one finger, but I got some skills.
That's not so bad.
But
That's pretty good odds.
listen, the people who had that sausage say it was the best sausage they ever had. Let's talk about your grandi. So the grandi, which translates for those who don't know that as bigs, right? But that's meant for sharing. Talk about that.
So the whole menu is made for sharing. We go from small antipasta through a bunch of small plates that are generally pretty seasonal into the pastas, the pizzas. We have some secondi, we call them, which are more seasonal meats and fish dishes. And then into the grande, we have a whole red snapper, oreganata style, with the garlic butter and the lemon, kind of like your play on like clams oreganata, pizzeria style, really fun. Huge fish, 2.5 pounds. We have dry aged porterhouse from 2 that comes from Palafrida. And then we have pork shank porchetta, a little bit of a play on a traditional porchetta, confit pork shank that we throw in the deep fryer, and it gets that crispy pork crackling on the outside. That's served with Brussels sprouts and it's served with Brussels sprouts and pancetta.
Insane. And I mean, you'll love this. I literally last night till 11 o'clock was using a chunk of guanciale that I get imported because I don't like domestic guanciale, excuse me. My chunk of guanciale, and I was making a matriciana at 11 o'clock at night because that's because I'm sick, because that's the way I am. So we talk that language.
But good for you.
But you know what? I'm so glad you talked Jersey tomatoes, because there really is no tomato. You could talk about your San Marzano, which 90% of them are fake anyway, that are on the market right now.
That's true.
Jersey tomatoes are just the best. They are delicious. There's just everyone's like, they're sweet. No, they're sweet, but they also have the good balance of acid. It is perfect. So we're blessed to be in a perfect place to have corn and tomatoes, and I'm so glad you make use of that. I just want to know where you get your andouille, because it's really hard to get good andouille.
So the andouille comes from Salumeria Bielese. It's in New York. So if you want a good guanciale, they have a great one too. Not imported, but it's for a domestic one, it's really, really good. And they make all their stuff in house. It's great stuff.
Fantastic. I have a buddy in right over the border by Weehawken, Union City area, who's a sausage maker. You probably know because he does all the Berkshire pork sausage and those products. Right. But I've gone in with him, and he gets a bunch of his buddies together, drinking wine and having cigars as they make andouille, and they make porchetta, and we make capicola and everything together. It's like a club. So you would have a blast. We gotta hang out and do that
Sounds
sometime.
like it, yeah.
Yeah, it is fun, especially with the wine. By the 9th glass of wine, you don't even know what you're making at that point. You're just grinding anything in the grinder, Now, since the pandemic, we've noticed that fewer and fewer people go out for lunch. As a result, fewer and fewer restaurants are open for lunch, especially in the suburbs, but even in the city. Baccarosa is dinner only. Do you ever anticipate maybe if the need is there to open for lunch, or do you think it's just better focus on dinner?
So we're dinner only until the beginning of September. September 2nd, we're going to open for lunch. And then later that weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we'll be open again for brunch. We really hope that lunch business is going to be great here. We have a great menu for takeout. We have a great catering program here, and then dine-in lunch as well. I really think would be great for the area. There's not a ton here for lunch,
Yeah.
so I think us being open and really welcoming the town in is going to be great. Dinner's a great focus for us right now. We have a great happy hour. We have a whole lot of stuff going on, but lunch is going to be a main focus for us for sure.
Andrew, when I lived there, literally every place up and down Franklin was open for lunch and dinner. Now, one or two. That's it. It's
One or
very
two,
hard
yeah.
to find lunch today. So it's good. I'm glad that you're doing that. Listen, I want to talk more about your Lucky Tomatoes, your aperitivo hour. Unfortunately, we are now out of time because we talked food. I talked food too much with you. What's a website for more information? We'll have you back.
It's baccarosa.com. You can find everything on there. Lucky Tomatoes, come in, test your luck. Happy hour is great, dinner's great. Open for lunch and brunch soon. Can't wait to have you in.
All right, we will check. You will see me in the next couple of weeks. I promise you that. The restaurant is called Baccarosa, located right in Nutley, in the heart of northern New Jersey. Executive Chef Andrew Riccatelli, thank you for joining us this morning, and
Thanks
best
for
of
having
luck.
me. Yeah,
You
you too.
bet.
Take care.
Thank you. 8:16 now, partly cloudy this morning and some sunshine through the day. Highs mid-70s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with a full Garden State forecast. And my good friend John Wisniewski is going to be on. We have a lot to talk about. So we will be on with John in just a little bit. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 817, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Partly cloudy, highs mid-70s, straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Ken. A beautiful day to maybe do some dining al fresco here in New Jersey. A very pretty start to the morning and a nice afternoon ahead, following up on that. Really, really, my mouth is watering after that interview. All the amazing things you can find there in Nutley. Well, a little further south in central New Jersey, you'll find a little more cloud cover with temperatures that hold in the mid-70s this afternoon, feeling a little bit grayer as the day goes on thanks to some rain that's offshore. More clouds build throughout the afternoon. So enjoy the sun to start the morning as some wildfires in Wyoming spreading their smoke across the country. Here in New Jersey, we'll see a little bit of that, but again, won't lower the air quality or even reduce visibility. So some good news there. UV index is back up at a 7, which is high. Probably doesn't get much higher than this for the rest of the summer as we pass the peak and we're now a full 2 months beyond the summer solstice. Notice all of the dew points that are a little bit higher down the shore throughout today and tomorrow. Well, that's with an easterly breeze that pulls in more of that marine air, making it feel slightly more humid down toward Atlantic City and Cape May, especially. Further up to the north, we have drier weather that comes in for Thursday into Friday. Also a northeasterly breeze due to Erin being offshore will make things a little bit gustier by the end of the week and cool us down quite a bit. Thanks to that northeasterly wind direction, won't be as warm, so even the heat index holds in the 70s throughout the day on Thursday. By the time we get to the weekend, it'll start to warm up just a little bit, but it clears out nicely. By Saturday, any of the clouds from Erin will be well offshore, so we enjoy a nice sunny day. It'll feel quite pleasant, temperatures in the 80s, and then with more clouds that come in for for Sunday, we'll wrap up the weekend with a bit of a grayer scene and some extra showers in there, clearing by Monday into Tuesday. So I think we get half the weekend looking decent with the first half to start rather pleasant, and then ultimately it turns a little bit cloudier by the weekend. Sunday, the second half of the weekend. Notice the big right turn here to Erin's forecast models, all of it taking out to sea. So good news in terms of keeping the storm away from us, but the waves are still going to be a concern, especially by Thursday into Friday at the New Jersey beaches, with, like Ken has been mentioning, already some of those swimming areas closed on the beaches as those waves get higher. Saturday, great day to head out. Sunday, likely some extra clouds and maybe a passing shower, but both days in the mid 80s. We'll tell you more about it with the 7-day forecast that's coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate that. It's 8:20 right now. We have a mess on the Garden State Parkway right now in Union. Let's take a look at what we have. This is I-78, local lanes eastbound, west of exit 52, the Garden State Parkway. The 2 right lanes of the 3 lanes are closed, and that, my friends, is what it's causing, about a 2.5-mile delay going into that point. Again, that's I-78, local lanes eastbound, west of exit 52, GSP in Union, with 2 right lanes of the 3 lanes closed. You can see everybody is going to be starting to rubberneck on those outer lanes as well. We have a crash on the Turnpike Outer Roadway southbound north of Interchange 7, Route 206 in Bordentown. The right shoulder's blocked, and unanticipated construction delays US 22 eastbound west of the GSP in Union with the left lane closed. Crash and a debris spill. New Jersey Turnpike Outer Roadway southbound south of Interchange 7 in Mansfield with the left lanes blocked, and an overturned tractor trailer. Route 24 westbound west of exit 7, JFK Parkway in Chatham with the right lane closed. Right now, your Hudson River crossings, it's 10 minutes across at the Lincoln and the Holland, and about 20 minutes we take a look at the upper and lower levels of the GWB. Just beyond that point is where the buildup begins, but it's not so bad. Actually, they're saying 20. My bet from having passed that a million times is only about 10 minutes in. 8:21 is our time, and New Jersey is making environmental history in what is being called one of the largest environmental settlements in U.S. history. DuPont and related companies have agreed to pay $2 billion to resolve claims over toxic so-called forever chemicals. These chemicals are said to have contaminated water supplies and ecosystems all across the Garden State, many parts of the country as well. Former New Jersey State Assemblyman John Wisniewski, who served on the State Assembly's Environment and Solid Waste Committee during his time in office, is here to talk about what the settlement means for the public health of New Jersey residents. John, good morning to you. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me back on.
Thank you. They're called PFAS, right? The perfluoro and polyfluoroalkyl substances, to be formal about that. When I lived in North Caldwell, we used to get notices every couple of months. You can't drink the water. Well, why are we paying for the water? It was so infuriating. And that was because the water system was loaded with PFAS. So this is something that impacts a lot of New Jersey. Chemicals like Scotchgard firefighting foam. They seemed to be miracle chemicals, right? Until we found out not so much. They get in the drinking water, they never get filtered out. So it is a big deal. And I know when you were on the panel, was this something being talked about in terms of lawsuits back in the day, and why did it take so long for a settlement?
Well, these lawsuits are very complicated, but thankfully, we have a set of laws on a federal level that really make it possible for states like New Jersey and others to hold these polluters accountable. And those environmental regulations are under threat as we speak today. It took decades to build up that body of law, but they're under threat. These chemicals are great advancements in science and product manufacturing, but not handled properly, wind up in the water system. It's not, it's not something that's isolated. Here in Sayreville, DuPont has one of its oldest facilities, and the drinking water wells that the borough of Sayreville used to rely on for providing water to the community had to be taken offline and water obtained from another source because the proximity of those wells to the DuPont facility and how those chemicals were mishandled, they wound up in the drinking water. So this $2 billion settlement will help with the cleanup, but it also is a reminder that this is not a one stop, one lawsuit type of thing. There are many other similar situations that deserve to be remediated. And thankfully, as we speak today, we have the laws that enable states like New Jersey to do it.
And John, isn't there a separate suit or a separate settlement, I should say, involving 3M? Wasn't that like another $500 million because of Teflon or the firefighting foam? I just want to make sure I'm not conflating the two.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a number of industrial pollutant settlements. There has been one for asbestos. There's been one for the firefighting foam. There's the one for the PFAS, and the list can go on. But everybody needs to really appreciate that absent these federal environmental laws that require accountability, none of this would be possible. And it would be up to individual communities to clean up their own water system because somebody else polluted. So it's a real benefit to every taxpayer, whether you live in Sayreville or you live in North Caldwell or you live in some other community. This is a benefit to every taxpayer because it's going to help provide better quality drinking water.
It's one thing, John, when a company comes out with a great product, and at the time we thought great product, firefighting foam, great thing, right? You have a chemical fire, that's one of the only things that can get it out, like a fuel fire on a jet engine or something. That's how you get it out. It sounds great, but the question is, how soon did those companies realize that these were forever chemicals, and did any of them keep it quiet? Now, I know when they agree to a settlement, they don't acknowledge their culpability. But that's where it infuriates, I think, residents of a state where you think, okay, it's one thing you had a great product, et cetera, but did you find out, did you know at some point this could kill people? And how long did you keep your mouth shut as it was poisoning people and pets, for that matter, too, living in a community? And I think that's what's so infuriating. All the money in the world doesn't even take care of that.
Well, I think you're right. You make a great point in that there has to be a level of accountability about creating chemicals that may be wonders of science, but also have a dangerous side effect. Look, everybody uses gasoline if you have a regular gasoline powered vehicle every single day. Not handled well, that gasoline in your drinking water, that gasoline on your hands, that gasoline in your yard is not good. And so there's two issues here. Dangerous chemicals that are created to perhaps advance science or make better products, okay, that's great. But they have to be handled, stored, and disposed of properly. And that, I think, is the bigger issue here, is that they weren't handled, stored, and disposed of properly.
Yeah. And whenever you pass those abandoned gas stations and you see they sit empty for years, chances are it's because whoever buys that property is going to have to properly clean that up, because you can't just build on top of toxic land. Right.
Or the seller,
exactly.
And the seller just doesn't have the money. Look, there are lots of instances where there have been wonderful advancements in the 50s and the 40s. Steel structures, the superstructure was coated with asbestos to prevent fire, because at the time there really wasn't the science and the research to understand how that affects people's lungs and ability to breathe and the diseases it causes. And so, 50 years later, that's not the state of the art. And that's what happens with these type of chemicals. When they were made, there wasn't the type of scientific understanding about how they could get into the water supply. You could go on with the list, say, for microplastics that are in many cosmetics and other products that are used every day. Go out into the farthest reaches of the Pacific Ocean. You will find these man-made microplastics in fish that have not been near any continental border for days and months and weeks, but they get out into the middle of the ocean. And so science is great, advancement is great, but we also need to be protective of the environment. And this is a lawsuit that says, if you're not going to protect the environment, if you're going to be reckless, you're going to be held accountable.
A friend of mine teaches in a medical school in Florida and has told me that they've done research on cadaver brains and found up to an ounce of microplastics, an ounce in some of the cadaver brains. That's a lot of microplastics. Every time you brush your teeth, I don't know if they still do it, but for decades, the little granules were microplastics. So it was meant to gently remove the plaque from your teeth. Unfortunately, you swallow a little bit every single day of your life, several times a day. That stuff gets into your system. Some of those microplastics get in and they get clogged and there's nowhere to go. The question is, did the corporations know about this? And when did they find out? And why did they keep doing it? And that's really what it comes down to. So what do you think that between the federal laws that we have, the EPA laws and rules, what does this signal to the corporations about some environmental accountability?
Well, it certainly, $2 billion means that their shareholders are going to be feeling a pinch because of the decisions they made many years ago. So as a corporate matter, they're going to have to up their game and be more vigilant on how they use these chemicals. But you also know the reality is that they have an army of lobbyists in Washington and other state capitals, and they will also simultaneously be looking for ways to weaken those environmental laws. And that's what I said at the top of the interview, is that those environmental laws are under assault on a federal level by the current administration. And lobbyists who are employed by these companies are going to be looking for ways to further weaken them so they don't have to be accountable in the future. And that is up to every citizen to be mindful and vigilant about, to make sure their elected representatives are not falling prey to that kind of influence.
And it's there. I know people who are lobbyists in DC. It's rampant. It's every cocktail party. You have somebody comes up, whispers, gives a business card. Yes, some people still use them. And hey, come over to my house for dinner. It is a game. Sadly, people's lives are the result of that game. But this goes on in DC constantly. And it's been going on for decades, and it's disgusting. And every time we talk about legislation to prevent it, somehow it just disappears. One last thing before I let you go, John, and then you could hit that too, but I just want to put this out there so you can segue when you're done. I just want to make sure when that money comes into New Jersey, is it going to fall in the bottomless pit in Trenton, or will it get spent to clean up our situation? Because my fear is we always have a budget hole, and that money is just going to get spent. And then they say, when we get around to it, we'll clean up the water supply in North Caldwell.
Now, these funds will be segregated. And remember, it's really two pots of money. There's an $800, almost $900 million pot of money, and then there's a $1.2 billion pot of money to make sure that there's accountability going forward should one of these companies file bankruptcy or go out of business, be acquired, cease to exist. And so the settlement is structured in a way to make sure that money is used for its intended purpose. But just going back to the point about lobbyists trying to influence legislation. Having served in the legislature, I don't see that there's a problem with people trying to influence, citizens try to influence, lobbyists try to influence. I think the real issue here is we need elected officials who are steeled enough to not fall prey to the type of influence peddling that is rampant. I mean, it's not new. It's been going on for as long as the United States has existed. The difference is the type of individuals who hold elected office has changed over time. And we need to make sure we're electing the right people who will stand up for the citizens who send them there and not fall prey to the siren song of lobbyists telling them about a world that is not one we want to live in.
I appreciate you coming on, and you're right on it with that, 100%. He served on the State Assembly's Environment and Solid Waste Committee, former New Jersey State Assemblyman John Wisniewski. It's always a pleasure having you on, John. Have a great day, my friend.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. 67 degrees now, 8:32. The phone lines are open. We'll take your calls. Let's talk about this. What do you think about that? What do you think about companies that were causing, maybe potentially knowing the dangers of the chemicals that they were producing that went into your water supply? Wonder why your dog died of cancer at the age of 6. We don't know for sure, but there are links. How upset does that make you? Give us a call, 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says partly cloudy today, highs mid-70s. The full Garden State forecast in a moment. You're watching ONNJ Mornings, seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And we're streamed live on Substack, Rumble, and Twitch. On Twitch, you can get us at twitch.tv/OnNJ. We'll be back in 30.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
All Very good morning to you. Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. 65 degrees northern New Jersey, 67 in Trenton, or as we call it there, Trenton. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. And in Seaside Heights, officials are cracking down on after-hours swimming after there was a tragic rip current incident at Webster Avenue Beach. 6 people had to be rescued by jet ski. A 7th, unfortunately, was pronounced dead. Mayor Anthony Vaza announced stricter enforcement, with police issuing summonses or arrests for violators after 5 p.m. That's when the lifeguards aren't there. The move follows 52 rip current deaths nationwide this year. Authorities urge swimming only when you have lifeguards on duty, and listen to them when they are on duty. For now, we have partly cloudy skies today. Highs mid-70s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the detailed Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. A little bit of cloud cover across southern New Jersey now, but the clearing that's occurring in northern New Jersey will allow for a very pretty start to the morning. Lots of sun north of 195 today, but those clouds hanging pretty low down toward Atlantic City and Cape May. Also a bit more humid there as well as that sun rises. Down the shore we go, and with the cloud cover that remains pretty much most of the day, the further north you head in New Jersey, even north of, say, LBI, you'll see more sun through this afternoon. Hamilton and Egg Harbor City also tapping into partly cloudy skies. As far as our high temperature today, we don't even crack the 80s. It'll feel much cooler than we're used to, but still pleasant, with our sun setting now at 7:48 this evening. The light showers that moved through Cape May earlier this morning are still hanging down there. We'll ultimately see more clouds move in by the end of the day, keeping water temperatures in the mid 70s as we're coming off the warmest part of the summer. Those water temperatures were in the low 80s just a few weeks ago. So high risk of rip currents right down to the coast, and that will be the case for the next several days due to Erin, which is churning in the Atlantic, now a borderline major hurricane, Cat 2, a high-end Cat 2. And as it works its way up the coast, eventually giving us northeasterly breezes and some clouds by Wednesday. Now, the rain that comes in for tomorrow is actually from a system from the north and west, not related to Erin. But by the time we get to Wednesday night into Thursday, we'll start to see those clouds come in off the coast. The winds pick up. This is due to Erin by the end of the day. And look how fast those breezes will be blowing throughout the course of the day Thursday. That also will keep those rip current risks high and probably close some beaches for swimming. But as soon as Wednesday or Thursday, even though there are some beaches in southern New Jersey that are already facing closures as a result of that large system. There's Erin swinging out to sea. So again, the storm center not coming close to the state, but close enough that the outer bands may give us some rain by Thursday afternoon. And of course, we'll see the clouds as a result. The clouds clear by Friday. We're back to a beautiful start to the weekend, and the weekend starting off very pretty with plenty of sun all throughout the state and temperatures warming back into the mid 80s, 83 on Saturday. A pretty way to finish out the week and start the weekend. The trouble is that by Sunday, we'll probably have some more clouds and rain that moves in. So not the best finish to the weekend, but at least we get a few days in there to start. The beaches will likely have some extra clouds and showers on Thursday. That is due to the outer bands of Erin, but they clear quickly by Friday, and we're back to sunshine on Saturday. Sunday also looking quite pleasant with just a few extra gray skies. Overall, Ken, a cooler feel over the next week or so. So a very pleasant feeling here in New Jersey.
And you know what, Mike? You're probably too young to know this song. Gray skies are going to clear up. Put on a happy face.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you're too young. Let's just say Google Dick Van Dyke and Broadway, and you'll see what I'm talking
Well,
about. Okay, it's a
we had
famous
a
song.
we had a very old school in grammar school, because I am of the age where we still called it grammar school, not elementary
Yes.
school. So my wife makes fun of me for saying that all the time. But in grammar school, we had a teacher, a music teacher, who would teach us all of these, as the young kids would say now, ancient songs, and they were fun. But yeah, no, I know that one. I know that one. We used to sing it in like
Thank
fourth
you.
grade. Yeah.
Make me feel good. In fact, I used to sing it in the fourth grade too. That's how old the song actually is. All right, Mike. Thank you very much, sir. And our fourth grades were many years apart. We'll check back with you, Mike. It is 66 degrees right now. We have a mess. The roadways are just literally a mess right now. Pam, let's bring up the I-78 cam right now. Still, this is I-78 by Vauxhall Road. Look, this has just gotten worse because those lanes in the middle were actually flowing. You could see the emergency vehicle there now going down. What is that? I'll tell you right now. That is a crash with injuries. So that must be a very serious crash because this has been going on half an hour. This is west of exit 52, the Garden State Parkway in Union. The two right lanes of the three lanes close. I bet you they've closed a third lane now because it looks like nothing is moving on that right side. And whoever's in the express lanes, they're crawling now because they're using emergency vehicles to get down there. So avoid this area. Union Township, crash with injuries, I-78, local lanes eastbound west of exit 52, an absolute mess. If we go over to the New Jersey Turnpike, I know it takes a second to switch that over. We have a mess also. This is by the southern mixing bowl of the Turnpike. This is as you approach 78 by Newark Airport. Look at the approach. So those folks on the right side and the extreme left side, the exit down there, you see the Pulaski Skyway up ahead. These folks are getting off by Newark Airport. That could also, believe it or not, that could actually be residual backup because of the 78 issues, because this connects to 78 up ahead on the right. That could very well be causing this massive amount of delay. So this is what happens. You get a ripple effect when you have one crash on one roadway near an interchange of a number of roadways. You have a residual effect. We also have a debris spill and an overturned dump truck on the Turnpike inner and outer roadways southbound north of interchange 8, which is Route 33 in East Windsor Township. Debris is all across the southbound inner roadway, all the lanes. So you can only get by on the left shoulder through there. The left lane and shoulder block southbound as well on the outer roadway because that's where the emergency vehicles are coming in. So that is a disaster right now. We have unanticipated construction delays, US 22 eastbound west of Garden State Parkway right now in Union. And we also have a crash and debris spill. Let's see, where is it? Sorry, folks, it's updating as we're talking. This is on the Turnpike, outer roadway southbound south of interchange 7, which is in Mansfield with the left lanes blocked. Just a mess, and it's gotten worse. It started out with a few crashes early at 7 a.m. Now it's literally everywhere. Expect delays. You just have a mess out there. The Lincoln and Holland, the Lincoln Tunnel right now is 15 minutes, and Holland's only 10. That's a good thing. Let's take a look at the upper and lower levels of the GWB, wide open. This was a mess an hour ago. Now it's wide open. We're told it's 10 to 15 in. 8:41 is our time. A 36-year-old golfer was struck by lightning Sunday at Pinch Brook Golf Course in Florham Park and went into cardiac arrest. Witnesses performed CPR before he was rushed to Cooperman Barnabas Medical Center in critical. This marks the second lightning strike on a New Jersey golfer this summer following the death of 28-year-old Simon Mariani in July. A resident in Morris County has tested positive for malaria, potentially the state's first locally acquired case since 1991. You have to scratch your head and wonder how malaria made a resurgence when it was basically eradicated. Can we say, and I don't want to blame, but you have 700,000 people here that we know of illegally, and we don't have any idea about their health records. So, but I guarantee health officials in Trenton will go as far away from even considering that as part of the blame. With malaria, what happens is mosquitoes bite somebody, they get contaminated with it, they ingest that blood, then they bite somebody else and they pass it on. The New Jersey Department of Health and CDC are investigating. Health officials say the risk to the public is low because you have to get that one infected mosquito. But they urge precautions like using insect repellent and eliminating any standing water to prevent mosquito bites. Any standing water also allows for a breeding place for mosquitoes. So if you have like an old tire or a flower pot that's loaded with water, dump out that excess water. Malaria is a mosquito-borne disease and it can be fatal if untreated, but it is curable with prompt treatment. A man has been sentenced to life in prison for the 2023 murder of Sayreville councilwoman and pastor Eunice Dumfour. A jury convicted Rashid Ali Bynum in June for shooting Dumfour 15 times at point-blank range in her car. The two knew each other from church. Dumfour's family expressed relief at the sentencing, with her mother, Mary, stating, quote, "We got justice." Bynum showed no remorse in court. 8:43, three 19-year-old men, Jaquise Forrest, Alonso Mincy, and Jeremiah Michael, have been charged with first-degree murder in the fatal shooting of 20-year-old Thomas Smith III. The incident occurred Friday evening at High and Oak Streets in Millville, Cumberland County. Police found Smith with a gunshot wound to the head. He died shortly after. The suspects face additional charges as that investigation continues. 8:43, a Bridgeton man was arrested in Somerset County after a violent confrontation following a 911 call reporting a dispute in Manville. 35-year-old Derek Donnell Lewis Jr., wanted for robbery in Asbury Park, fled but was later found at Somerville train station. He resisted arrest, according to police, injuring one with a broken finger. In fact, he was found with a replica Glock handgun. Lewis faces multiple assault charges and is being held at Somerset County Jail pending a hearing. A tragic crash in Gloucester County has claimed the life of 27-year-old Bailey Lenny, a former Division I football player from Malaga. The accident occurred Saturday night on Marshall Mill Road in Franklin when Lenny lost control, veered into a field, and was ejected from his vehicle. He had to be airlifted to Cooper University Hospital but did not survive. A GoFundMe has been set up to support his family's funeral costs. 8:44, an Old Bridge man faces third-degree vehicular homicide charges after allegedly driving high on cannabis and fatally striking truck driver Jamal Ebron on the Edison Bridge in Sayreville. The crash occurred May 21st when Ebron's tractor-trailer was stranded. William L. Hunter Jr.'s Hyundai Kona, speeding at 73 miles an hour, struck Ebron, pinning him and causing the death, according to police. Toxicology reports confirm marijuana in Hunter's system. If I hear another person say marijuana doesn't cause any issues like this, and nobody can get addicted to marijuana. And, when you are on marijuana, you're calmer, you're not more wild. Think twice. Two pedestrians were hurt Sunday when an 82-year-old Margate woman lost control of her vehicle while exiting a parking spot in Sam's Club in Pleasantville. The victims, a 70-year-old woman from Absecon and a 60-year-old man from Pleasantville, had some minor injuries. They were treated at local medical centers. The driver not harmed. No charges have been filed. 8:45 now, 65 degrees, partly cloudy today, highs mid-70s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with your full Garden State forecast, and we'll now, last chance at a call, 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Jersey Mornings. We'll be right back. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:46. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Partly cloudy, highs mid-70s. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. A pretty decent start across northern New Jersey. Lots of sun today, and before the clouds and showers come back for tomorrow, and then some wind by Thursday, and that's due to Erin being offshore. Our forecast points to a warmer day with temperatures climbing into the mid-70s. Lots of sun, dry though, quite comfortable by the afternoon as we stay sunny for most of the day in northern New Jersey, but also dry, and we've been abnormally dry. That's that yellow shade you see here across the state, even going down the western half due to the lack of rain over the last 30 days, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of a rainfall deficit, which will probably make back slowly over the next month or so. There is some more rain in our forecast, not tropical rain because Erin goes by, and then there's our next named system, which may turn into Fernand in the next few days. The wave heights are impressive, more than 40 feet in the storm center. Well, all of those big waves stay out to sea, but we still could see some 10 to 15 foot swells near the coast as soon as Thursday, and that likely will linger here through Friday, improving by the weekend, but still, by that point, a lot of wind and wave action at the coast beginning today, but really peaking on Thursday by the middle of this week. As far as the next few weeks going into the beginning of September, cooler than average forecast for the Northeast and most of the East Coast, then even slightly higher chances of rain. So that should help abate the dry situation as we enter the last few days of August. With the rain that comes in tomorrow, it clears out by Thursday. There could be some rain at the coast due to Erin, but it's going to be windy all around, not due to Erin's hurricane winds, but it's actually the high pressure that clears us out for Friday. and the deep pressure of the storm out to sea of Aaron's strength, that difference in pressure will create a pressure gradient, giving us some very gusty winds on Thursday. Friday clears out nicely. Saturday, calm and sunny, 83, and looks beautiful to start the weekend, even though there's some rain on the back end by Sunday. Better chance of rain is on Thursday. These are due to the outer bands of Aaron at the coast. Friday clears nicely, and Saturday and Sunday, a nice start to the weekend with more clouds on the way and maybe a shower by Sunday evening. So a pretty decent finish to the week after some rain tomorrow, Ken. Back to the clouds briefly, and then I think we look nice going into Friday and Saturday.
We'll take the Friday and Saturday thing. Keep our fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Mike. Enjoy your day, sir. We'll see you tomorrow.
You too.
8:49. Thank you. 67 degrees now in northern New Jersey and in Trenton. And we take a look at highway issues, and we have them all over the place. Which one do you want to do first, Pam? You want to do the all right, so let's take a look now at this is I-78 at Vauxhall Road. That's what the camera shot is. And this is due, let me bring it up. This is due to this was a crash. So we have heavy traffic now right through there. This is due to a crash that is off to the shoulder. Right now we have a crash with injuries. It's local lanes eastbound west of exit 52 Garden State Parkway in Union. So the two right lanes they're saying are blocked, but you could see what a mess. That is an absolute mess. Those express lanes on the left, they've been subject to closure so they can get emergency vehicles in. So a couple of minutes ago, that was dead stopped as well. But you can see the lanes on the right. They're trying to get people by on a shoulder right now. That's causing about 2.5, 3 miles of backup. Again, that is on the I-78. And that's all due to a crash near the Garden State Parkway. So try to avoid that area if at all possible. We have a crash on Route 46 eastbound by McBride Avenue and Little Falls Avenue. In Little Falls, the right lane is closed along with the right shoulder. And we have a crash on 287 southbound north of exit 40 and Parsippany Road. That's Parsippany Troy Hills with one left lane closed. Crash with a debris spill, New Jersey Turnpike outer roadway southbound south of interchange 7, Mansfield Township with the right shoulder closed. Did we want to go to, yes, we have the 295 issue. Let's do that one. A crash on 295 northbound, south of exit 67, which is US 1 in Lawrence Township. So let's take a look at 295. And that's the 295 Cam by 195, Pam, if we have it. Or we don't. Let's take a look. We'll take a look. Sorry, folks, bear with us here. Yeah, okay. So there is the cam, and that is all there due to we have a crash. It's 295 northbound, south of exit 67, US 1 in Lawrence Township. All lanes are open, but you can see a little bit of a slowdown as people approach that. The Hudson River crossings now, Lincoln and Holland, 10 minutes, and the GWB back to moving. Fortunately, only 10 to 15 minutes across 8095 approach as you make your way eastbound into the beautiful city we call New York. 8:51 is our time, and 127 more people were arrested in Washington, D.C. over the weekend for a total of over 400 arrests since President Trump's crackdown on crime there began. Also, 21 more illegal guns were seized. D.C.'s new U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, ran down the successes.
Everyone, is Judge Jeanine filling you in on what's going on in the surge in Washington, D.C. We're at more than 400 arrests over the weekend, 127 this past weekend with our federal partners and this cooperative law enforcement effort. We seized 21 illegal guns. We've made arrests on warrants for homicide, sexual predators, drug trafficking, illegals. If you want to be in D.C. and you're a criminal, you're not welcome.
Well, some of the many charges included aggravated assault, assault on a police officer, and resisting arrest, plus fugitive from justice, felony grand larceny, and possession of a controlled substance. My question is, how is it that in only 10 days, the Trump administration was able to do all this, but the local district attorney, who is a liberal, this is a guy who was a Soros-funded guy named Schwalb, Brian Schwalb, S-C-H-W-A-L-B. When he got into office, he, just like Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, he said he wasn't going to prosecute a number of crimes because he felt they were unfair. They were unfair to whom? You have mostly Black and Hispanic people in D.C. It's 67% of the population is Black or Hispanic, 51% Black, and another 15% Hispanic. They're the people being impacted by these arrests. They're being helped by these arrests. It's always the white leftist liberals who are protesting this, the elected politicians who know that they're losing their grip on power who are protesting this, the leftist liberals. But if you ask a black or Hispanic person in DC who could now walk to school or walk to work and not be accosted by a drug dealer or get mugged or get carjacked, you'll see that the response is quite different. I have not seen one person of color yet screaming about this. They're very happy because every study shows a few hundred people are responsible for like 90% of all the crimes. They're recidivists. They keep doing the same crimes over and over again because they know they can get away with it until you get somebody like the Trump administration and Judge Janine coming in saying, no, you're not going to get away with it anymore, ass. And they arrest these people, lock them up. The problem is when Judge Janine, lawyer Janine in this case, and the Trump administration lets the locals take over again, they let them all out. They just don't learn because this is how they feel they stay in power. Keep the people down. We'll tell you how and when to live and how much money you could make. We'll parcel it out and you let us be in charge. Liberals have been doing this for decades, and that's why every inner city in America looks like a frickin' hole because liberals are in charge. The feds, by the way, also cleared 3 homeless encampments on Saturday, where officials say drug use was rampant. In all, robberies in 10 days. Robberies are down 46%. Carjackings down 83%. And violent crime is down 22% in a week and a half, proving it can be done where there is a will. And the Republicans have shown up the Democrats in 10 days what for 30 years liberals have not been able to do. And they've not violated one freaking law in the process. The laws are all on the books. So when I hear the system is broken, we need to pass new laws, bull. The laws are there. Just enforce them. Get rid of your local DA, Schwab, who doesn't want to do his job. He said a year ago, we can't prosecute our way out of crime. Yes, you can. That's your job as a prosecutor, jerk. You can, in fact, prosecute your way out of crime. Put the few hundred bad guys in jail, or if they're here illegally, kick them out because they shouldn't be here. And guess what? Crime miraculously, it'll never be 100% down, but crime miraculously gets down to a tolerable level. It's just beyond me. And keep voting Democrat, and this is what you get. Sorry to my friend, Mr. Wisniewski, a Democrat, a hardcore liberal Democrat. He's a lovely man, but a hardcore liberal Democrat. The mindset of liberals, they're all theorists. It doesn't work. 8:55, President Trump met with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky and a large group of European leaders who descended on the White House yesterday to support Ukraine's president, bracing for the possibility of another explosive series of meetings that could change the course of his country's future. 6 months after that Oval Office meeting that was a bit volatile, and just days after Trump met with Vladimir Putin in Alaska, Zelensky was greeted warmly upon his return to the White House. By the way, he was finally wearing a friggin' suit for the first time in 10 years. Trump promised a reasonable chance of ending Russia's war with a commitment to U.S. involvement in a peacekeeping force in Ukraine as a shield against any further Russian aggression. But Ukraine has to agree to some things, too. Meanwhile, a band of top European leaders had rushed to the White House for meetings with Trump before Zelensky's arrival. Now, the left is trying to say that the leaders of Europe came to try to warn President Trump, don't give away anything. No, that is not what they came to do. They came to thank President Trump because they said so on camera, but the left is not reporting that in mainstream media. They all kissed his ass and they said that he did a wonderful job and he's bringing peace to the region, and to compliment him for all his efforts. Take a listen.
Steps ahead are the more complicated ones now. The path is open. You opened it last Friday, but now the way is open for complicated negotiations. And
yes, complicated negotiations. That's what's coming next. That is the head of NATO, by the way. So more has been done by this administration, according to those leaders, in just a few weeks than in the last 4 years of the Biden administration. And that is from many of them liberal European leaders. That's their words, not mine, not my opinion. An Indiana woman has been federally charged after posting assassination threats against President Trump. D.C. U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro identified the woman as 50-year-old Natalie Rose Jones. Take a listen.
Hi, everyone. It's Judge Janine. I just wanted to let you know here from the United States Attorney's Office in D.C. that an individual by the name of Natalie Rose Jones is now in custody, charged with 2 federal crimes for knowingly and willfully threatening to take the life of the President of the United States. She did come from New York to Washington, D.C., and she has been threatening and calling for the removal of the president, and even worse, as she got to D.C., her threats were on Facebook and Instagram, and she continued to call the president a terrorist and was working to have him eliminated. She is now in custody. She will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Make no mistake about that.
This freak of a woman literally said, quote, "I literally told FBI in 5 states today that I'm willing to sacrificially kill this POTUS by disemboweling him and cutting out his trachea." Yeah, she's not nuts. Not at all. A liberal. And you are done. And I am done with On New Jersey Mornings for your Tuesday at 8:59. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Sunshine today, highs mid-70s. Have a good one.